Hi everybody, I'm Julie Nelson, 10 o'clock anchor at Channel 5 here in the Twin Cities. As a local news anchor, it's my job to tell the stories of people in our community. Tonight I want to share a very important story with you. It's Heather's story. Heather is one of the 50,000 people nationwide who have entered the Teen Challenge program. Her story is incredibly moving. Her transformation, nothing short of miraculous. As you listen to her story, keep in mind these miracles are happening every day at Minnesota Teen Challenge. In fact, over the past 10 years, more than 1,700 substance abusers have enrolled in the local program. Heather Stevenson is one of the many success stories.
Heather is just a happy little girl. Her name is Joyful Spirit, and her spirit was really joyful. She's happy all the time and giggly and into everybody's business.
I had a great family. I had a dad that worked in the ministry and good mother, brother, sister. I was a little sheltered when I was younger, but growing up was great. You know, I had a good family.
Middle school brought many changes in Heather. Her grades went from A's to D's to F's as she began skipping class to hang out with a violent gang of men. This once happy young girl began bursting into fits of rage when confronted by her parents.
I don't know where the anger came from, but I had just rage. It wasn't even anger, it was just rage. At my dad, at my mom, I just would throw into fits.
Along with the anger, she started dressing in black, wearing dark makeup, and listening to gothic, heavy metal, and rap music. Gang symbols covered her doors. Her parents didn't know what was happening with their daughter.
I can't remember how it came about, but we had the one law enforcement person from Woodbury come over, remember, and interview us and ask her about a couple of guys that she had been around. And when the law enforcement person came back and said that he was really concerned because some of the names on the list were people that had warrants for their arrest and things like that, he says, your daughter's in a lot of trouble. And we knew at that particular time that we had to move very quickly.
I knew of a lot of stabbings and shootings and killings that had gone on with them, and I'd hear about it, and I almost became like, it zoned out to it so that it didn't affect me.
There was a letter left right out on the floor. I went down to her room, and that was my eye-opener when I read the letter. I read it. It devastated me. I just remember I started sobbing. I just hysterically started crying. And the letter said, I'm in over my head. And it pretty much said that she was having sexual relations with different people, and it had been in our home.
Booze, I like drugs, those
and I
types
liked
of things.
all these things.
With their suspicions confirmed, Harry and Vicki tried everything to keep Heather safe, but nothing worked.
We found out she'd go out her window at night after we were in bed. So then Harry bolted the window shut. He tried to think of what can you do to try to protect this kid.
Harry and Vicki realized it was not only Heather that needed protection, but their own two children as well. This was affecting their entire family.
So then Harry made some phone calls. We heard about Teen Challenge, that they had a place that she could live, because we knew we had to take her out of our home situation.
And we also need to protect her from the gang influence, to get away from all the phone calls and the people that are picking her up. And she was running drugs between different gang people. She was even carrying guns for them.
Harry and Vicki managed to get Heather down to Teen Challenge, but once in the doors, Heather flew into a rage, screaming that she was not going to stay there. Harry stayed strong.
Yeah, that was the hardest thing, to just say, you can't come home with us, Heather. You're just gonna have to stay here for a while. And to do that, to make that decision, was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done as a father.
That was hard.
It was very hard.
Over the next 2 months at Teen Challenge, Heather's rebellious rampages continued, one incident after another, until Heather compiled a file larger than any other teen in the history of Minnesota Teen Challenge. Finally, in a desperate attempt to regain her former lifestyle, she and another teen girl crafted an elaborate escape plan.
5 days later, it's gone. Snipped a wire on the girls' floor so that the alarm didn't go off, and I ran away with another girl.
Heather and Michelle found themselves alone on the dangerous streets of South Minneapolis. The first thing they looked for was someone to buy them cigarettes. What they found were two hardcore drug dealers fresh out of prison. The girls began a nightmare that they could not escape.
We just drove around all night long and smoked pot, you know, did mushrooms, smoked crack, smoked a lot of different drugs that I had never done, and I was just out of it and drank a lot. And then they brought us back to one of their houses, and every night it was the same horrible thing where they would take advantage of us and hurt us and beat either one of us and do what they wanted. It was like we had no minds of our own, so we had to do everything that they asked us to do.
After several days of desperate searching for Heather, Harry and Vicki got the phone call they'd been hoping and praying for. Michelle was found at Abbott Hospital. But when they arrived at the hospital, to their horror, Heather was not with her. Michelle was so high that she couldn't tell them anything.
I said, "Where's Heather?" And she goes, "I don't know." It was like, oh no. What do you mean you don't know?
I don't remember where I came from. I don't remember how I got
Oh,
here.
you have to remember. Where is she? You have to remember.
Harry and Vicki knew that they were so close to finding their daughter. They took Michelle and began driving in the neighborhood around Abbott Hospital.
We were so close, but she was nowhere around. And then Harry all of a sudden said, "We need to stop the van." And all of a sudden we went past this
Just passing an alley.
and Michelle jumped under the seat.
And I said, "Do you recognize anybody?" She said,
She was under the seat.
That's them. Don't let them see me. Don't let them see me." She just started to tremble, you know.
Just started to cry.
And I hit the brakes and skidded to a stop and threw it in reverse and backed up the street in reverse into the alley.
Right in front of this car.
Right
that
behind
these
this car. And this one fella, I yelled out to him. I says, "Where's Heather?" And he just spun around and looked at me and he just stared at me. Before he could answer me, I was out of the van and I was right in his face. And I said, "I know you've got my daughter." I said, "I want her now."
And then all of a sudden, I looked up in this brick building, and she was up in the window. I jumped out of the car. I thought, I'm going up there.
I'm following this guy into the building, and all of a sudden I heard the Spirit prompting me, "Don't go in there, don't go in there." And so I just went back, not knowing at the time that he was toting a gun in his pants, you know, under his belt, and also the apartment that he was in was full of guns.
I went running into the building. I was going to find that apartment. And all of a sudden, this young woman came out, and she came right up to my face, and she said, "Get out of here." And I said, "I want my daughter."
At great risk, Vicki pushed the young prostitute aside and marched Heather out of the building and into their car. Heather had just been rescued from near certain death. The drug dealers left without Heather and were gunned down in a gang shootout shortly after arriving in Chicago. After returning safely to her parents, Heather finally realized how desperately she needed Teen Challenge.
And I ran into Pastor Rich's office, and he was in there, and I locked the door, and I just started bawling and sobbing. And I said, I'll change, give me another chance, I'll change.
The structure and discipline of the program was just what Heather needed. Week by week, her heart began to soften, and she started to change.
Talk about how angry she used to be towards me, and that she actually said, "I actually hated you, Dad." And she just said, "You know, that's changed." And she said, "You just don't know how much I love you, Dad." And for me, when I heard that, it's like, wow, there really is a change in heart going on here.
That fear started to melt, and it just became something fun for me to do. It was fun not to be in trouble. It was fun to serve God. And it was fun for me to see the look on my parents' face when I was changing.
That's when the healing process started. But it could have never happened here in our home. And it could have never happened without the support of Teen Challenge to walk along beside us.
It's been 4 years since Heather's graduated from the Teen Challenge program. Since that time, she's remained drug-free. She's reaching out, touching other troubled kids. She's active in her local church. She's been married, now is expecting a child. Everything has changed in Heather's life. We're receiving over 50 calls a day for help, just like Heather. Maybe you can help us reach out to touch other Heathers.